Hey everyone, my name is Lukas, a full stack developer with more than 3 years of experience. I've worked with companies in Ireland, Austria, Germany, South Korea, and the USA. And today we're diving into how to become a front-end developer. In the world of tech, front-end development is one of the most crucial and dynamic fields. It's all about creating the parts of the websites and apps that users interact with directly. Front-end development is vital because it's the bridge between a website's functionality and its user's experience. A well-designed front-end can make or break a user's interaction with a site, impacting engagement, satisfaction, and even business success. In this video, I'll walk you through the roadmap to becoming a front-end developer. We'll cover the essential skills you need from HTML and CSS to JavaScript and beyond. Following this roadmap, you might be able to become a front-end developer in 4 to 6 months, depending on how well you personally grow during this time and how hard you practice. A front-end developer role is to implement web design through coding. They translate the creative vision of designers, like UX designers or UI designers, given the point, into a functional and user-friendly interface, using all kinds of technologies like HTML and CSS and JavaScript. Let's start with the basics. HTML and CSS. HTML is like the backbone of any web page. It structures the content like headings, paragraphs, images. CSS, or cascading style sheets, is all about styling. It makes the web pages look attractive and visually engaging by controlling the layout, colors, fonts, and the overall designs. So together, HTML and CSS form the foundation of web development. Let's take a look at some HTML and CSS code. In this HTML file, we have several key sections. For example, at the top of the file, we have the doc type HTML. This declares and defines this document as an HTML5 document. The HTML tag encloses the entire document. The head section contains meta information, such as the character set, viewpoint settings for responsive design, the document's title, and a link to an external CSS file. The body section contains the content that will be displayed on the web page, including a header with navigation links, sections for About Me, Projects, and Contact, and a footer. Each section is wrapped in semantic HTML tags like header, nav, section, and footer, which helps with the structure and accessibility of the web page. Now, let's style this HTML with CSS to make it visually appealing. In this CSS file, we define styles to enhance the appearance of our HTML structure. Body sets the font family to Arial, ensures consistent line height, and removes the default margins and padding for a clean slate. Header adds a dark background color, white text, padding, and centers the text. Nav-UL removes the dark default list styling and padding. Nav-UL Li displays the list items in line with margins for spacing. Nav-UL Li A styles navigation links with white color and removes the underline. Section adds padding around each section for better spacing. Project adds a border, margin, and padding to each project item for clear separation and readability. Footer styles the footer similarly to the header, with a dark background, white text, and positions it fixed at the bottom of the page for persistent visibility. Now, let's take a quick look at how to use media queries in a CSS file. We use media queries to apply different styles based on the screen size. Add media. This media query applies styles only when the viewport width is 600 pixels or less, targeting mobile devices. Inside the media query, header reduces the header font size to fit smaller screens. Nav-UL Li changes the navigation links to block display for a vertical layout and adds margin for spacing between links. Next up is JavaScript. This programming language is essential for making websites interactive. It allows you to create dynamic content, control media, animate images, and much more. For JavaScript, try to start with the basics. Right? Try to learn the basic programming concepts, right? How to structure the classes you're gonna write, and try to understand the JavaScript syntax. After that, go into understanding DOM manipulation and event handling. So if a user clicks on something, right, like a button for example, what does it do? How does it handle that? And at the end, just practice, right? Try to explore the ES6 plus features and modern practices. As we have seen before in the HTML and CSS code, let's take a closer look at the JavaScript code. JavaScript allows us to manipulate the DOM and handle events. For example, based on our previous HTML and CSS code, this JavaScript code adds functionality to our web page by manipulating the DOM and handling user interactions. Let's break it down. Document add event listener ensures the script runs only after the DOM has fully loaded. Const about section retrieves the about section element. The constant contact section retrieves the contact section element. Document get element by show contact, as seen here, adds a click event listener to a button with ID show contact. When clicked, it shows the contact section and hides the about section by modifying the display style property. Next, the change title. It adds a click event listener to a button with ID change title. When clicked, it changes the text content of the main header H1 to welcome to my updated portfolio. Remember, this is but a simple code example of how JavaScript, HTML and CSS code could look like in your future projects. Now let's talk about version control, or more precisely, Git. Version control systems are crucial for managing code changes, especially when working with teams. Git allows you to keep track of modifications, to collaborate with others, and maintain a history of your project. It's basically the backbone of any collaborating project you're going to make, as you won't be alone working on this project, so understanding Git will be a vital point of your day-to-day life. Like I mentioned before, Git is going to accompany you every day in your development career. So now, let's take a look at the most important Git commands to start with. All of these commits form the backbone of Git. Starting with git init, it initializes a new Git repository in your project directory. It creates a .git folder that will track all changes to your files. Git clone, it clones an existing repository from GitHub or anywhere else to your local machine, creating a local copy of the project. Git add period stages all changes in your working directory, preparing them for a commit. The dot indicates all files, but you can specify individual files if needed. Git commit. Commit the stage changes with a message describing what the commit includes. The -m flag allows you to add a commit message directly. Git push pushes your committed changes to the remote repository on GitHub. Git pull fetches changes from the remote repository and merges them into your local branch, keeping your local copy up to date. Design. Responsive design is all about making web pages look good on any device, whether it's like on your phone, tablet, desktop, or anywhere else. You can use CSS media queries and frameworks like Bootstrap, for example, to create layouts that adapt to different screen sizes, ensuring that a user has a great experience no matter on which device they are. Let's touch on the UX UI design principles. Understanding the basics of user experience, UX, and user interface, UI, design helps you create websites that are not only functional but also intuitive and enjoyable to use. Good design is more than just aesthetics. It's about how the user feels when they interact with your site. Keeping user needs in mind will make your project stand out. If you design a website, Try to think mobile first, as more people are nowadays using their phones to browse websites, so the layout should always be better for the phone. Use medias in your websites to create new and engaging layouts for the user. And try out frameworks like Bootstrap or Tailwind CSS, since one of those, or probably both of those, will accompany you on your journey for the rest of your front-end development. Frameworks. Before choosing a framework, make sure you do your research online to find out which framework you might need in the future for a job you desire. In general, I would say starting out with React as a baseline would be the best option here. And then either delve into Angular or Vue.js. For starting out with the frameworks, I would look up a tutorial online to build simple applications. Try to understand state management, outing, and component-based architecture. And you got a good footstep there. Now, let's talk about best practices and naming conventions. For us, variables help maintain consistency and make updates easier. Nesting improves readability and organization. Partials and imports modularize your code, keeping it manageable. For JavaScript, use meaningful variable and function names for clarity. This must be the hardest step in your development career, as finding the right name isn't easy. Follow consistent naming conventions like camel case for variables and functions. Keep functions focused and concise to do one thing well. Comment your code to explain complex logic and improve readability. By following these best practices and naming conventions, you'll write cleaner, more maintainable code. Keep these tips in mind as you develop, and you'll see the benefits in the long run. Building a portfolio. Once you got some skills under your belt, it's time to build a portfolio. Like a strong portfolio for somebody starting out in the industry is really essential to showcasing your abilities to potential future employers or clients. Start by creating your own personal website. The site itself will be a portfolio piece and a place to showcase your projects, interests, or try to include projects like a clone of a popular website, small JavaScript applications, or a custom interactive feature. These examples show you can handle real-world tasks and understand web development principles. Remember, it's not just about the end product. Make sure your code is clean and well documented. This demonstrates your attention to detail and your ability to write maintainable code. After finishing up your portfolio, try to apply for internships or junior developer positions. These roles provide practical experience and mentorship from more experienced developers. Another excellent way to gain experience is by contributing to open source projects. It helps you learn collaboration and exposes you to larger code bases. If you're up for a challenge and confident in your skills, why not participate in a hackathon or a coding challenge? Those can be incredibly beneficial. They offer opportunities to solve real problems, often under time constraints, which is great for learning and networking. As the tech world is always evolving, it's important to stay up to date and to keep continuously learning. Staying up to date you can easily do by following some tech blogs or newsletters, listening to podcasts, find a good YouTube channel. This will keep you informed about new tools, framework, best practices, and update versions. So, to sum it all up at the end, start with the basics, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Use tutorial, videos, or courses to gain a foothold in these. Make sure you can use Git proficiently. Build a strong portfolio, and if you can, gain real-world experience before you jump into your first proper job. But most importantly, stay curious and keep learning.